Hi, here is how I make miniatures in air dry clay. Making mini food out of air dry clay is so much fun. With this air dry clay you can make keychains, magnets and earrings, DIY miniature food. Mini clay art is so popular, and so here's how I make mine. I find the Das brand of air dry clay is really soft and easy to use. You only need a small amount of air dry clay for this. Take it and knead it between your hands. And first of all, we're going to make some different types of DIY miniature toast. Smooth the clay so that there's no cracks, and then we're ready to roll it out. If you start off with a crumbly piece of clay, chances are your clay might crack as it dries, so if we start with a lovely soft piece of clay, we give the project its best chance. If you don't have a rolling pin to hand, then you can find any cylindrical item around your home. Lolly sticks either side of the clay make it really easy to roll out a lovely and smooth flat piece of clay. Yes, this clay is very thin compared to our normal air dry clay projects, but we're making miniatures here, and so they are going to be very tiny little pieces. The traditional scale for miniatures is 1 to 12, so something like a doll's house might be to this scale. So for example, if a baguette is 12 inches long, then in miniature you would make it 1 inch. And if my bread is say 6 inches tall, my miniature would be half an inch tall. But you can make your miniatures in any scale you wish. Say if you're going to make some earrings, then just make the piece the size you want your earrings. Or for a keychain, you might want to make the miniature that little bit bigger, just so that it suits the size of the keychain. As you can see with what I've been doing here, I've cut out my little piece of clay, gave it some shape with a toothpick, and then adding some little texture and details with that toothpick and a brush. I let the air dry clay fully dry, and as I showed in one of my other videos, I made these air dry clay pieces into molds, and this makes the project quicker and easier. So take a look at that video after watching this one if you're interested in making silicone molds like these. So either carry on making lots of toast as I made the first one, or use the molds like this. Now the bit where you get to decide what do you have on your bread or on your toast. I've rolled a thin coil of the air dry clay to shape for my topping. And I'm going to cut these and shape these for my toast. When adding wet air dry clay to wet air dry clay, I tend to use the score and slip method, but I don't in this instance. For something so small as this, it's far easier to use some white glue. White craft glue will dry as the air dry clay dries. I've had no problems with this method, and it allows us to add lots of little tiny details. So I've made my little air dry clay pieces into some avocado slices, adding the glue on top, and then simply placing these all on top as if you're making it for your actual lunch with avocados and toast. Just paying a bit more attention to the details and using this toothpick to help me. The glue in there acts as a little bit of sauce underneath, and we can paint that later. For the rest of the toasts, I'm adding some different toppings. This one I'm making a little egg. I take a tiny little ball of the air dry clay and pinch this very tightly between my thumb and finger, adding a little bit of glue and placing this on top of the toast. Then to make the egg yolk, I make the tiniest little ball of air dry clay, add a little bit of glue and gently press this on top, and voila, we have egg on toast. Keep watching and I'll show you how I paint these up to really bring them to life. For another piece I'm going to add some lettuce, and so I've pinched a tiny piece of clay between my thumb and finger, then taking the toothpick and rolling this even thinner, and there we have it. A little piece of lettuce that I can add some glue and then attach this in place for our little lovely pieces of toast. And you can add all different items. I have some bacon here, some salmon. Add all kinds with your air dry clay, then let them fully dry. They really don't take very long to dry when they're this small and thin. I like to paint mine with acrylic paints, and it's quite a good idea to have a reference photograph or a reference piece so that you can make those colours up. To make a nice sort of caramelly or toasty colour, you can add some white, and then you add yellow, red and a tiny bit of blue. Make it up to the toast colour of your choice. Hopefully this video so far is giving you some inspiration, and seeing what kind of items you'd like to make in miniature, and realising that it's quite easy and simple. When you put some little pieces together, you can create almost any design. I'll make a burger and a baguette as well, and let me know in the comments below if there's anything else you'd like to see me make. I had another video where I made some miniatures, where I made the ice cream and the cakes, and now that I've gone miniature a few times, I'd like to go really big. How big can we go with the air dry clay? Let me know below if there's anything you'd like to see me make, but hopefully that's going to be one of the next air dry clay videos. I love a challenge, and I really do feel like challenging myself with this one. I made up a darker paint colour with my acrylics, and I've painted a darker area around, and then the dry brush effect works really well with this kind of design when you have lots of little detail. So I take most of the paint off the brush, and then you dry brush this over the details, and it brings out the lovely detail. I always get messy fingers when painting things like this, but the acrylic paint washes off really well. What would you turn your miniatures into? Would you use them as earrings on a necklace, keychains, magnets? Please do let me know in the comments below. When painting like this, really take your time, put some music on, put one of my videos on, and really enjoy the process. This is about a size 0 paintbrush, so a nice fine paintbrush is what you need for this. I let that colour dry and then go in with the other colours. It's far easier to paint lots of these all at one go rather than painting just one at a time, because then we have our colour palette, we have the colours ready to use, and we can use them across the whole range of the different toasts. So I'd always make them in batches if you can. While I'm painting, I always like to have an old cloth handy next to me, and that way we can take all of the water out of the paintbrush before we go in with our other colour. As they are very detailed, you don't want lots of drips of water all over these, and as you can see, something like the egg on toast really does look cute. Did you see the video where I made these air dry clay paint palettes? If not, take a look at those too. Each little air dry clay toast design I made into a separate mould, and that makes creating these from air dry clay easy over and over and over again. It really does make it so much quicker. Painting all the tiny details on these is great practice for that steady hand. I'm in my absolute element when I'm creating and painting these, and I hope you love this kind of project as much as I do. Sometimes you might need to add a second coat of paint. For example, with the white here, I just need to go over some edges and do some touching up, and just add lots of colours. Take your time and enjoy the process. How gorgeous are these? A fantastic addition to any doll's house or a wonderful pair of earrings. Don't forget to paint the back of each piece. Here we have bacon, salmon, chocolate spread, peaches, avocado, beans, and a mini baguette. I rolled a small coil of clay and I cut it open as if you're cutting a baguette open, and I slid in the lettuce and the meat, making the lettuce as I did earlier and adding some glue in the middle. I also made a burger, making the bottom half of the bun, the top half of the bun, and then each individual element in between, and then adding a little bit of glue in between those, a couple of onion rings for the top, and then painting it. They're making me feel hungry. What do you think? I do of course varnish these. If you want to make them even stronger, then you could add some resin. I have some matte varnish and some gloss varnish. Starting off with the matte varnish on the actual toast bit, and then I can add the gloss varnish onto items like the egg, which would naturally be shiny. Both of these varnishes are water-based, and so they don't have a strong odour. So easy to use, and they dry quite quickly, and the paintbrushes can then be washed out with water. Are you inspired to give these a go? Then please do, or if you're interested in any other air dry clay projects, there's plenty here over on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next creative video.